As car enthusiasts, we go to a ton of car shows throughout the year, ranging from street meets and cruises all the way up to your high budget, high-end car shows with only the highest level of show cars. And something I find myself paying more and more attention to in the recent years is trend shifts. Looking at what trends are up and coming, what's currently popular, and what's been being done for too long has run its course and puts a bad taste in your mouth every time you see it and forces you to think to yourself, what in the were you thinking? Even though 3 years ago, it was something you and I would both lose our minds over. What's going on, guys? I'm Sean from Fitment Industries, SeanB.fi on Instagram, and today we're going to talk about car trends that died in 2020 and will have you throwing up in your very own mouth when you see these old trends still popping up from time to time. But before we get started, I got to remind you, silly little goobers, to subscribe if you haven't already, because we upload every single day and you're not going to want to miss any of the fun. And don't forget to head over to fitmentindustries.com for all of your wheel, tire, and suspension needs. Oh, and did I mention we're giving away a set of Koenig wheels? Simply click the little card that just appeared on the top right of your screen and pick up some of our awesome Koenig apparel. You got a 370Z on the back doing some big smoky skids to let everyone around you know that you're a car enthusiast. You've also got this sick cross-turn shield on the front, and every $5 you spend is going to get you one entry to win. Oh God. And these make the perfect gift because the more you buy for your friends, the more likely you are to win a set of Koenig wheels. And make sure to stick around for the last trend on this list because it's going to catch you off guard. Let's get started. Let's just go ahead and get this one out of the way. We're going to start with manual purism. I remember going to shows, and if you didn't have a manual transmission, you would have straight up not been qualified for a trophy, or you would get shunned at cruises if you had the automatic version of an enthusiast car that had a manual option. But with the rise in technical advancement of automatic transmissions, from the ZF to Porsche's PDK and into the various other dual clutch transmissions available, there's no denying the performance benefit of the modern automatic transmission. And so with that, the trend of manual purism is nearly dead and only hanging on by a thread. Sure, there's no denying the fun and the engagement that a manual transmission offers, but now that automatics are more often than not faster, it's becoming less of a focal point when it comes to us judging other people's cars. Hello? Oh God. And it's so refreshing to see and hear. And if you're still the guy that thinks it would be better in a manual, stop it, because the DTC trans will always shift faster than you, and typically they hold a lot more power more reliably. Moving on, let's take a ride down I can't see out of this thing and talk about super dark tint, sometimes referred to even as limo tint. It was only a few years ago I remember everything tint related was all about having the least amount of visibility possible. People were running double 5% all around and then another 5% on the windshield. And at the time, I was pretty impressed by these owners' dedication to their vehicle's lack of practicality. But like all things ridiculous and over the top, the fire burns out very quickly. Now, I'm not entirely sure why this trend is dying, but over the last couple of years, super conservative tint and even no tint at all has become the norm for show cars. 2020 has really seemed to be the year of keeping things looking conservative and tasteful at first glance, especially with things like tint that can hide interior modifications and cleanliness. Alas, as much as I like dabbling in the tint game, I'm not really sad to see it go. Up next, we're gonna take a look at camo wraps. Camo wraps took the friggin' world by storm. Everywhere you looked, there was everything from boxes to my boss's Lamborghini Aventador wrapped in some sort of camo. Army green camo, snow camo, digital camo, blue camo, you name it, it was a camo and it had to be on somebody's vehicle. And don't even get me started about freaking real tree, all right? Anyway, this was another one of those trends that blew up super fast for reasons I'm not super sure of, like, damn, sick invisible boatmobile guy. What were you thinking? Anyway, with its super quick success came a super quick burnout, and you rarely see camo anymore. And even when you do, it doesn't look so hot and it really kind of dates the build. So it's no wonder people have shied away from doing the camo stuff this year. Adios, amigos, you will not be missed. Ugh, Bishkums Gossums. Now that I got that off my chest, let's chat a little bit about sticker bombing. Sticker bombing is one of those things that just really freaking grinds my gears. Like, why? What does it represent? What did it represent? And I think my biggest issue with it was that it didn't actually represent anything at all. It was just really meant to cover up imperfections like our good old friend Plasti Dip that recently has had an extremely heavy downturn in popularity as well. Anyway, sticker bombing became almost like a okay. Anyway, sticker bombing became almost like a cult phenomenon, ending up on everything from some poor parents' car that their kids got their greasy little fingers on, and I've even seen it on some R34 Skyline GTRs. Oh, the frickin' horror. Eventually, it became so popular that companies started releasing full-size printed vinyl to look like sticker bombing. It was a super odd trend to watch grow and a pretty fun one to watch die. Very rarely do you see it come around anymore, and when you do, it's often looked at with a bit of distaste and eye rolling. But I guess I can't say I never liked it at one point, but you know, you live and you learn, right? Let's move on. Keeping on that same juvenile level as the sticker bombing, another quick burning trend that nobody misses is the drift charms on street cars. Now, for those of you that don't know what this is, based on my very limited research, it was supposed to be a little visual key for drifters to hang little stuffed animals and figures off their car, and it would appear to be floating as they drifted. But then us dirty little Americans got a hold of this trend, and we turned it into something used to drag on the ground by crazy low static guys, and then even to signal enthusiasts to let them know that you're also an enthusiast, sometimes to even suggest committing one of the most heinous crimes of all time, street racing. Ugh. So with that, these drift charms themselves quickly ended up turning into a negative statement about the owners and actually becoming something that drew negative attention from law enforcement and Karens alike. Needless to say, you don't see these a whole hell of a lot anymore, and we can classify that trend as dead. Windshield decals seemed to explode into popularity just a few years ago, and I remember it being one of the most edgy and neat things that you could do to tie your build together. I vividly remember my trip out to Ocean City for H2OI 2015, and quite frankly, if you didn't have a decal directly in the lower center of your windshield, you probably weren't getting a second look. But just like the drift charms and super dark tint, this trend is an absolute cop magnet. Beast now sees something perfect. It didn't take more than a couple years for this trend to run its course, and you really don't see it much outside of the club designations and a few stragglers hanging on to it anymore. It was a bit excessive, but there was absolutely a clean and tasteful way to do it. So I am a little surprised to see it go. I have a feeling we will see this come and go quite frequently, but for now, this trend has gone pretty well dormant. Now this next one I am 110% guilty of doing, but god damn it, it used to be so cool, and not gonna lie, the urge to do it again is pretty real for me since I just picked up a 2000s Mustang GT for a winter beater. And maybe it's just the Mustang racer inside me that's bringing back those bad trends, but anyway, I'm of course talking about tinted lighting. Tinted headlights and tinted taillights used to be all the rage. Hell, even some manufacturers are releasing vehicles from the factory with dark red plastics and black backed headlights to adhere to this look. But god damn it, I can't deny that it's an absolutely stupid trend. Why on earth would you want to reduce your lighting output and visibility to others on the road? I don't know, because it looks cool, I guess, or at least it did anyway. Every now and again, you do see some cars pop up with tinted lighting, and I have to admit, it looks pretty gosh dang awful and dated. It's so 2008, but good God, you do it to the right car and it can be absolutely magical. Anyway, the trend did seem to last a lot longer than any of the other ones on this list, but it's certainly something you don't really see a whole lot these days. Partly based on the legality of tinted lighting, and probably more so based around the introduction of VHT and then Plastidip. Because once people started getting their greasy little fingers on this stuff, every box and fill had the darkest lights around, with uneven coatings and usually a matte texture, which really took this murdered out look trend and turned it into kind of a juvenile application, driving enthusiasts from this one and on to the next thing, which may have inevitably been tire letters. Tire letters were a huge one that came back to life right around 2014 and certainly didn't seem to make it through 2020. This was kind of an odd one because it was a bit of a throwback to your old school muscle car guys who would have their white letters on the outside of their tires to say loudly and proudly that they had Firestone wide ovals or BFG good radial TAs, but with a modern, more custom touch. These really gained popularity through influencer marketing and seeing sponsored tires loudly displaying their brand name on the side with big, bold branding. And with that came a slew of custom letters being added to the arsenal to be able to personally brand yourself in what you like on your own tires. I never actually really saw any sort of negative side effects to tire letters or really heard anybody talking shit about them. So I'm not entirely sure what happened to these, but they were everywhere just a couple years ago, and now I haven't really seen more than a couple sets throughout 2020. Unfortunately, you can add tire letters to the car trends that died in the 2020 list. And last but not least, one of the biggest and most popular trends of the decade that could take you from lame to IG fame has to be the wide body kit trend. Wide body kits really popped off in the scene right around 2014, 2015, and I mean really popped off. Installing a wide body kit on anything seemed to be the ticket to starting a successful YouTube channel or gaining a real following on other social media platforms. And people took to this path like friggin' flies on a pie, and for a good reason. Converting to a wide body allowed for not only the use of a huge, aggressive offset hotboy wheel with a huge tire setup that could be argued to aid in performance, as well as create an entertaining journey of watching somebody cut up their dream cars and risk everything for a wide body conversion. But just like anything else that became uber popular, it rises to a point that it becomes overdone and people start to move on to the next big thing that people haven't done yet. Well, slap my ass and call me mama. And that seems to be the trend with all of these trends. The popularity of something becomes the reason that its own bubble pops and then inevitably deflates. With the rise of social media, it happens so fast and so often, it can sometimes feel like it's hard to keep up. But that about wraps it up for this list of the big trends that died in 2020, just like I have on the inside. Let me know in the comments, what trends I may have missed and what trends you guys see that are up and coming. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay notified, because we literally upload every single day and you're not going to want to miss any of it, especially the giveaways. And as always, head over to fitmentindustries.com for all of your wheel, tire, and suspension needs. I'm Sean from Fitment Industries, SeanB.fi on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. Beechams, gossams. Ow, my chest hair.
Make sure you subscribe. We really need subscribers and likes, please. Please. Thank you.
Okay, bye.